Da 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 ya, da 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 ya. Musicals with cheese.
Hello, I'm Jesse McAnally.
And I'm Andrew DeWolf.
And I'm Brianna Jones.
And welcome to Musicals with Cheese, a podcast where I try to get Andrew and Bree to like musical theater. How are you doing today, my friends?
Well, Jess, you just made me watch like 80 Beatles music videos in a row, so...
But weren't they really good, though? Weren't they really good music videos?
Hit or miss. There's some really good ones, and there's some really okay ones.
I think that this is ranging from good to incredible, and that is the range of this movie.
There's like two incredible ones, I guess, but I don't know about ranging from this. I mean, there's not that many that are that good.
I disagree, but
there's a couple that are kind of boring.
You are incorrect. In case you didn't pick it up, this week we are talking about Julie Taymor's Across the Universe. Cue the music, Bree.
Images of broken light which dance before me like a million eyes. They call me on and on across the universe. Thoughts meander like a restless wind inside a letterbox. They tumble blindly as they make their way across the universe.
Across the Universe is a film directed by Julie Taymor, written by Dick Clement and Ian LaFrenne, with music and lyrics by The Beatles. The film was released on October 12, 2007 in the United States and was not a box office success. The plot follows what a young dock worker, Jude, who leaves Liverpool to find his estranged father in America. He is swept up by the waves of change that are reshaping the nation. Jude falls in love with Lucy, a rich but sheltered American girl who joins the growing anti-war movement in New York's Greenwich Village. As the body count in Vietnam rises, political tensions at home spiral out of control, and the star-crossed lovers find themselves in a psychedelic world gone mad. I love this movie. Bree, I know you've watched this movie many times in your youth. What do you think of it?
It holds very good memories for me. I watched it a lot with my best friend growing up, and when I think of it, I'm happy. So that's what it reminds me of, happiness.
And Andrew, what's
teenage years?
What's your incorrect opinion?
The Beatles just aren't very good. They're kind of fine, and this is just Beatles songs and excuses to listen to them.
That's fair.
Yeah, like I would totally agree that the Beatles are overrated.
I like the Beatles, but I like this movie more than I like the Beatles, if that makes sense. And I watched this movie before I listened to a single Beatles song.
Really?
Yeah, I am not a culturally learned man.
Okay.
Outside of the musical theater world.
I also barely listen to the Beatles. The Beatles, as far as I know, have like two different eras. One of them is very boring, like
love songs.
1950s love songs, like I Want to Hold Your Hand. And the other is like ridiculously experimental psychedelic music, which is also not my thing. So they're kind of just like, I don't understand the hype, I guess. I don't really get why people love them so much.
I'll agree with you there, sincerely. However, I do love Julie Taymor. And we've covered her a bit on this podcast before. When I say Julie Taymor, does that name ring a bell to you, Andrew?
It rings a bell, but I don't know who you're talking about.
So her follow-up project to Across the Universe would be one Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, which actor in this film, Bono, would write the score for. She's also known for directing the iconic and legendary Lion King production that won her numerous awards and put a really big creative stamp on what she does. She's also directed films like Frida, as well as Titus, which I think are both very good films. I also enjoyed her adaptation of The Tempest. So She's ranged in the theater and film world, and she's known as being a very experimental and edgy director that takes big, broad strokes and not literal strokes. She is not a very literal storyteller. She is a very in emotions, feels, vibes, let's just go with the flow kind of narrative.
Is she the person that wanted the villain of Spider-Man to be
Arachne? Yes.
Arachne? Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
She's also a big fan of broad comedy, big actors, and like big, strong movements like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can definitely tell with this movie, there's not really a plot. Like, I guess you could if you had to, you could technically say that there is a plot with some of the characters, but like really there's not.
There is a plot, there is a narrative, there are payoffs, there are resolutions. People are in a very drastically different place at the end than they were at the beginning. They have changed as human beings.
It's all told through the loosely connected songs, though.
Vignettes. The vignette storytelling does not mean it is not proper narrative storytelling.
Yeah, but the narrative here is loose.
Okay.
To say the least.
What is the plot of the film, in your opinion?
There's like 3 or 4 important characters. Jude is just like an artist or something who's from England and moves to America, meets some guy named Max and dates his sister, and then gets deported back to England and then eventually somehow goes back to America to get back with the sister. I think that's all that happens with him.
I mean, you're ignoring like the sister like being involved in like war.
Yeah, but that's the other people's plots. There's like 3 different plots that are with different characters.
And
that some of them sort of intertwine and some of them don't.
They all get resolved by the end.
Yes, there's the sister and the brother who, I guess, like, what I didn't fully get is, like, who dies at the beginning? The sister's their other brother dies?
No, the sister's boyfriend dies, as well as JoJo's little brother dies in the Detroit riots.
Okay, I forget who JoJo is. Is JoJo the guitarist?
Yes, the Jimi Hendrix styled guitarist.
Yeah, he's like a side character at best.
Yes, but that Let It Be scene is fucking incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, but then her boyfriend dies.
Yes.
Oh, so that's why Jude didn't care about dating her, because they set up that like she had a boyfriend already or something, and that was never like brought up again. And I was like, what happened?
Yeah, he died. There's a whole scene where they show that he died.
I thought that was her mom that she was talking to. I thought that was like her brother died or something like that.
It is weird that they alert her mom. I think that's her mom, but it might not be her mom. I think that might be that is the boyfriend's mom.
Yeah, so it's weird. And then Max is her brother, and he gets drafted, but doesn't die. He comes back.
With PTSD.
Yeah, because everybody did. Then there's Sadie, who's a singer, and she goes solo, and that pisses off the guitar guy, and then she just decides that it's not for her and comes back to the guitar guy, and then it ends.
Yes, and then you've got Prudence.
Who?
TV Carpio, the one that just comes out the closet and discovers that she's a lesbian.
When does this happen?
It happens in the middle of the movie. Her name's Prudence. They sing Dear Prudence, and they want her to come out. Bree's nodding. She watched the movie 10 years ago and remembers these things.
I do. I'm also listening to Let It Be at the moment. It's such a good rendition of it.
It's such a fucking great rendition of it.
It's so good.
The visuals, the vocalist, fuck me.
Yeah, I don't know. There's so many like random things that happen.
They're not random if you're paying attention.
I was paying attention.
We're talking about Dear Prudence.
Yeah. We're talking about Prudence, who is played by TV Carpio.
Is Prudence is the one that ends up in the circus?
Yes, with Eddie Izzard.
Okay. Her plot was that she's a lesbian?
Yes. She discovers that she's a lesbian and comes out the closet because she was in love with Sadie, but it's unrequited.
I literally don't remember that part.
It's all done visually.
I'll take your word for it.
It's done visually, Andrew.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll take your word for it.
It's done through looks and glances and quick words. And yeah. Do you remember the biggest twist in the entire movie when you think that she's singing I Want to Hold Your Hand to the big football players, but she's singing it to the cheerleader and she's walking through in slow motion through these masculine dudes ramming into each other just to get to the girl that's on the other side?
Yeah.
Man, there is some incredible filmmaking and visual storytelling going on through Beatles pop songs.
There's certainly stuff going on. I don't know. I guess you can call it all plots, but it's like it's all just disparate stuff that sort of comes together at the end, and that's about it. Like none of these plots are like engaging.
I disagree. I find them all engaging. Maybe a little too white and a little bit too like faux neoliberalism.
I have a problem with it in a certain way, in that they're like just doing the 60s stuff, you know? Like, oh, well, it's the 60s. We'll do the civil rights and the Vietnam stuff. And they're not doing it like particularly well or different than it's ever been done before.
I disagree with different, but I get what you're saying.
It's like, it's the 60s. Look, there's hippies over here. And over here, there's the Vietnam War happening. Oh, and look, there's the civil rights movement. It's like, okay, yeah, the 60s happened, huh?
Yes, but...
Did nothing happen in England in the 60s? One of the characters is British, and they have a move to America just so they don't have to talk about any other politics other than American politics. Because that's all anybody knows about the 60s.
The thing is, the fucking Beatles moved to America in the 60s so that their politics would be more focused on where they currently were.
I don't know.
So all these songs are specifically about the American politics that they're written about.
I don't think these songs are about fucking anything, honestly.
I disagree. Some of them I'll agree with, but a good majority I'll disagree. And some of them are made to have meaning through the movie. Specifically, I Want You, I think is like one of the most brilliant interpretations of a song that's literally just about like wanting a human being to be about the American like military complex wanting you through those horrifying Uncle Sam photos. That scene is incredible.
I agree that they make some of the songs have meaning, but I feel like a lot of these songs are just kind of love songs, and they kind of force a different meaning onto them because there's not actually that many songs in this movie that are directly about love between two people, even though I think a ton of Beatles songs are just about that.
I think that a lot of them are in the purpose of a specific musical theater structure. Like, if we break it down, Girl is setting up like, you know, There Was a Boy, kind of Moulin Rouge style, setting things up. Hold Me Tight is setting up the world. All My Loving is the I Want song. I Want to Hold Your Hand is another, like, I Want song for a different character. With a Little Help from My Friends is the goofy, like, charm number, the Thénardier number, the all that. And it's all really, really effective and transitionary. And they're all used to tell stories visually. Like, specifically a song like Come Together, which could be used to just be a fun, weird number about coming together, is literally showing how each of the characters we've set up this far comes to live in the same apartment. And they do that visually and in a way where it's an amazing music video and telling narrative.
Yeah. It's a jukebox show. I don't know. I wasn't wowed by any of this. I'm going to be real. I'm going to be straight.
I will say the first third and the last third are significantly better than that middle chunk. That middle chunk, pretty rough.
You mean when they get taken away by the hippies and they go to the carnival for no reason?
Yeah, I like how we have an entire section we can just lift right out the movie.
It's literally, it means nothing. And they even use the Beatles song that is intentionally meaningless to represent it. So it's like, yeah, from here on, you don't have to give a shit. I am the walrus.
But then they swing right back into giving a shit.
Also, the subtitles for this movie listed as Goo Goo Gajoo.
That is the proper lyric.
That is not what he's saying.
That is the proper lyrics. I'm not
He's absolutely saying Cuckoo Cachoo.
I am telling you what the Beatles wrote. It is Goo Goo Gajoo.
The Beatles wrote Goo Goo Gajoo. Well, and they have very bad enunciation.
That is 100% the lyrics.
Whatever. It's a sound. You don't get to write down a sound and say what's right or wrong about it.
Well, I don't like that section. Eddie Izzard and her number being for the benefit of Mr. Kite. That is fucking wonderful in a vacuum. I love how she does that scene.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's probably my favorite music video other than probably Strawberry Fields. Was better. But like music video wise, that's great, but that literally means nothing. That entire section is completely worthless.
I love it. I love it with all my heart. It is one of those things where I hate that section. I hate the I Am the Walrus scene. I hate like basically all of Bono's moments. But as soon as Eddie Izzard shows up in her little tent, she pops out. I am very happy.
Yeah.
But then
what else is there to say?
We get back into the proper plot, and it's a hard swing because they swing right out of being for the benefit of Mr. Kite, which is one of the stupidest songs ever written. And I say that as a compliment to Because, which is like this vocalization kind of thing, to Max being in war, and it's all about the war now, and it's going to be about the war until the end. And it's not like we have ignored the Vietnam War previously because, you know, Lucy's boyfriend died and all that, and that kind of blows. But it is a turn where it's all about, like, revolution and helter-skelter and happiness is a warm gun and PTSD and Selma Hayek playing 50 nurses.
I feel like I am predisposed to just not like this movie. So it's a pain for me.
Well,
I didn't even like hate watching it. It was just like, yeah, okay. Yep, the Vietnam War, that was bad. Uh-huh.
Well, Andrew, how about we go into our favorite section, Wild Facts. Wild fact number 1. Director Julie Taymor watched the premiere of Across the Universe sitting next to Paul McCartney. She was nervous about what he would think, so when the movie was over, she asked if there was anything he didn't like about it, and McCartney responded, "What's not to like?" And he also sang along with All My Loving under his breath, a very moving moment for Taymor. Just a cute moment. I think Paul McCartney's probably a nice guy.
Yeah.
In an interview, Evan Rachel Wood and Jim Sturgis said that they were at dinner one day and heard that Ringo Starr would be attending a screening in town, then promptly booked it to the theater and watched their movie with one of the original Beatles. Sturgis then asked Starr what he thought of it. He said he enjoyed it very much. So both the 2 remaining living Beatles like this movie.
Do you think they would tell somebody if they didn't like it, though? Well, John Lennon wouldn't have liked it. He would have been like, commercial crap or something like that.
A little bit of shite, isn't it? All right, so wild fact number 4 or 3: the non-existent joint in "With a Little Help from My Friends" sequence is non-existent to ensure that the movie is not rated R. So they're just holding nothing between their fingers.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what the hell was supposed to be happening. It's obvious they were trying to smoke something, but like, is this the world's smallest? Did they roll like it's like the size of a pencil eraser? Like,
yeah, it's a weird choice. And the final wild fact, Selma Hayek specifically requested to appear in the film. When the director Julie Taymor mentioned the role of the bang bang shoot shoot nurse, Hayek replied, "Just one of the nurses, Julie?" And she plays all of them. And that scene is really weird, and I love it, and I love Selma Hayek in it, and it's great.
Yeah, I think the best parts of this movie is just when they decide that they don't care anymore about any of the plot or any of it making sense, and they're just like, yeah, there can be like 5 nurses played by the same actress.
The thing is,
like, oh yeah, they can just go into a non-existent circus tent and there's like a huge thing inside of it, whatever.
And you love cheese.
Yeah, those are the parts that I really liked. What I didn't like is when they were trying to like be serious and be like scolding me about how bad the Vietnam War was, and it's like, guys, it's 2007. Like, is this even a controversial take? Does anyone disagree with you at this point? Who's out here saying the Vietnam War was good? Are we still arguing with LBJ? Like, my God, that man's dead, isn't he?
Down from my taint to my bumhole. One of the classic LBJ quotes. And of course, LBJ would have meetings on the toilet with the door open, just with anyone. Take a shit in front of anyone. The more I learn about LBJ, the more incredible he becomes to me. Still a real big piece of shit.
As is every U.S. president.
Yeah. Except for the one that died a month in. I'll give him a pass.
Nah, I'm pretty sure he still did some bad stuff in that month.
Yeah, he didn't wear his coat and galoshes and gloves to his inauguration. He got pneumonia and died. Yeah.
That was a mistake. I wouldn't have done that.
So we don't have a previews proper today, but I do want to play basically for you guys a full segment of Ebert and Roper, where guest critic for Ebert, Robert Wolonsky, stepped in for Ebert. And I think it just sums up the overall perception of this film as far as critics go on both sides of it. So let's just take a look at that.
Across the Universe, I have a feeling, is also going to polarize some people, including moviegoers and critics, and especially Beatles fans. Now, some, like me, will appreciate Julie Taymor's whimsical, daring, and outrageous effort to create a coming-of-age story told almost entirely through Beatles classics. Others will cringe, perhaps, at the overly earnest, dramatic set pieces. Now, some of the numbers are gorgeous and funny and moving, some are silly, and some do fall flat. Evan Rachel Wood plays Lucy, an American girl who takes up with an English lad named Jude, and yes, everybody here has a name from a Beatles song.
I have never known the like of this. I've been alone and I have missed things and kept out of sight, but other girls were never quite like this. Falling Yes, I am falling, and she keeps calling me back again.
Lucy and Jude are among a group of free-spirited hippies living in New York City in the 60s, just as revolution is breaking out all over. Their idyllic summers of love are shattered when one of them is drafted.
I want you. I want you so bad. It's driving me mad. It's driving me mad.
This movie reminded me of the 1979 adaptation of Hair, though it's not as cohesive or as powerful as Milos Forman's film, and Across the Universe would probably work better as a Cirque du Soleil extravaganza or a Broadway play, but as a film it's flawed, but sometimes gorgeous and uplifting, right?
Get back, Roper. I gotta tell you, I kind of thought it was unreleasable.
Really?
Yeah. I sat there
Really?
5 seconds into it and went, you gotta be kidding me.
You hard-hearted, cold-blooded cynic.
You're
you.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
Because it made me want to go out immediately, and luckily it was on cable just the other day, watch the Bee Gees' Peter Frampton, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts
come
Club
on,
Band.
man.
It's the same movie!
Are you serious?
Oh, come
really?
on. They're the same exact movie. Although I have to say, Sgt. Pepper is better because at least it has Steve Martin. This one has Bono doing Robin Williams doing Bono, followed by an amazingly awful performance of my least favorite Beatles song, For the Benefit of Mr. Kite,
Yeah, that was
done
bad.
by Eddie Izzard, in what is a sequence that is sure to guarantee people walking, if not running out of the theaters.
Yeah, that was bad, I have to admit, but I thought some of the other songs were beautifully
Name
done.
one.
And you know,
No, you can't name one. You can't name one right here, right now.
Of course I can.
Name
There
one.
are 20 Beatles songs done beautifully here. I mean,
By whom?
including Hey
Which
Jude,
one?
by this attractive, talented young cast. I'm sorry you don't like the Beatles.
Oh, wait a minute. I so love the Beatles, which is why I'm sitting here right now planting my flag saying Across the Universe is the worst butchering of any Beatles since William Shatner performed Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
I love that version
Yeah.
by William Shatner.
And I think that just sums up the critical consensus of the time.
I think I agree with both of them.
Okay, elaborate, please.
I think it's bad, but I think that the songs and the music videos are good. But I think as a cohesive product,
I
it's
think
not
as an
good at all.
experience, it's incredible. I think it's absolutely wonderful. It's a flawed masterpiece, and that is my
I think it's the opposite.
a great disaster.
It's
a perfect.
a great disaster. Yes.
Bree, what do you think of that review?
I see both sides.
No, I think
get it.
I think what's his name is kind of off base. I think I'm with Roper here.
Okay.
Because I'm sorry. Have you guys ever?
I think what's his name is maybe
Have you
a
guys
little
seen
harsh.
Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band as a movie? That film
No,
is
but I mean, I have to-
unwatchable. It is terrible.
I have to take his critique really unseriously because he's saying that they did the Beatles badly, and I don't think that's possible because the Beatles fucking
Okay,
suck.
I'm gonna say something really, really wild here. I think the song covers here are better than their original versions.
Most likely.
Almost all of them, I think, are better. There's a couple that I think aren't quite as good, but most of them I prefer.
Most of the best Beatles songs are covers performed by somebody else. They just take a Beatles song and do it better. Like, who listens to the Beatles version of Come Together? Like, come on.
I listened to this version of Come Together. I like Joe Cocker. They also got like really good guest performers to really nail these songs. And also like it's just good. Also, it's got one of the rare PG-13 boobs, which is strange. They went with the Titanic rule where if you're doing it for art, then it's not real sexual nudity, so it's allowed in a PG-13 movie.
That doesn't make any sense, but I appreciate that it's a rule somehow. If you do it for art, it's not sexual. Isn't a movie art?
I don't know how to do it. Like, you can stand naked for a sculpture, but you can't stand naked and have a guy whack off to you.
But somebody's gonna jerk off to it anyways.
How many people do you think whacked off to Kate Winslet in Titanic? Yeah,
A lot.
That was a PG-13 booby and butt shot in that movie. And you know what? Us young men, thank you for that, Jim Cameron. You did that one for us. Speaking of doing that one for us, how about we compare our opinions to those of the folks over at Letterboxd? It's time for Previews.
It's time for previews. It's time for previews.
All right, Bree, it's me against Andrew, and you decide.
Okay. Jess, you're up first. Let the battle begin.
Okay, 5 stars.
That is a 1 star.
Bad
Andrew?
start, bad start. Yep.
Gave me hemorrhoids.
That sounds like a 1 star to me.
That was
That's a
the
1
most
star.
Valley Girl way to say it gave me hemorrhoids. Gave me hemorrhoids.
Gave me hemorrhoids. My sister said this was a 5 out of 5 film.
Oh, are they agreeing with their sister? I'm gonna go 1.
That's a
He
1
did not agree
star.
with his sister.
They're mocking the sister.
And my sister said this is a 5
All right.
out of 5.
Okay, Andrew.
Yep.
The strawberries in all caps.
5 stars. That's a good scene.
That is 5 stars.
I also
I'm
want to
good.
bring up how
I'm getting the
I
easy
like
ones,
the
though.
CGI usage in this movie. Like, it's not trying to look realistic, but it looks right.
All right, Jess.
I can agree with that.
The I want to hold your hand scene, ... Due to personal reasons, I will be passing away.
They might be into it, so I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna give that one a 5. Shit.
That was a 1.
Ooh, they're passing away because they are bigoted.
Oh my god, LGBT in my Beatles movie? I don't think so.
The Beatles would not have approved of this.
All right, Andrew. My partner told me to rate it 5 stars because it's their fave movie.
Then they rated it 5 stars.
Yes, they did.
I'm getting all the easy ones. I'm happy.
All right, Jess. This used to give me nightmares as a kid.
Ooh, you give it a 5 stars for you, Stu, or do I give it a 1 star because it gave you? I'm giving it a 1
But it was
star.
a 5 star.
You could have had it. You were so close.
All right, Andrew. Certainly the most artfully photographed episode of Glee.
1 star.
That's a 1 star. You are 4 for 4 at the moment.
They mentioned Glee, so 1 star.
All right, Jess. Do you think they named him Jude on purpose?
Is that a 5?
That's a
It sounds like a
5.
5.
Oh man.
Did I get one?
You got 2
We gotta-
points, but Andrew.
We have a big thinker though here. Do you think they named him Jude on purpose?
50-50.
So-
I mean, I don't know.
So they could do the Hey Jude song? Or did they name him Jude and then realized, wait a second, the Beatles have a song called Hey Jude, we could use that.
What?
They literally never
that-
even say the character's name outside of like the song where it's Hey Jude.
Yeah, they do.
Not in any of the other songs.
How would you say a name in a song?
You can change the lyrics in a jukebox musical.
I guess. On that note, how about we go into a mid-show and talk about some songs?
Yes.
Down.
Musicals with cheese.
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt you in the middle of the show, but I gotta tell you all about Patreon. Patreon is this really cool place where you can go and watch full-length episodes of what we're recording right now, and then you can watch stuff with Jess and Andrew, Jess and Liz. Lots of stuff on there. You want to check it out. You also want to check out our merch because it's been a minute since we've talked about merch. Okay, so now it's my first formal time saying all of these names. Thank you, patrons. Melissa Goldman, Danielle Renix, Jess the Stampede, Ewan Cassidy, Monica Throw, Mina Maneri, Brent Black, Nathaniel Stacy Coombe, Joseph Evans Green, Mario Lou Choquette, John Vanals, Russ Walker, Musical Hell, Kyle Summers, Jen A.C., Scoot and the Technicolor Dreamcoat, Liz Lim, Allison Steller, Nothing is Certain except Beth and Taxes, Thespian, Ren Cullen, Rafael Martinez Salaz, Jessica T, Mitchell Young, Chai Teacup, Katie McDonough, Chris Marcotte, Mimu, Kiji Marie Anastasio, Layla, RJ Norija, I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that, Charlie B, Bjorn Hermans, Erica S. Help me, I'm dying here.
Where are we at?
Toriana Frazier, Sammy the Most Lopez, Leanna
got through a
Morton,
good chunk.
Angela, Haley Blazier,
Blazier.
Birdman69, Cinemageddon Reviews. Please help.
Villainous Miss.
Just do the rest of them. Or do you want me to? I can.
Safiana Ali, the Omega Geek, Paige Pearson, Maddie
Maddie
Wargle,
Wargle,
Elisa
Eliza-
Erdman.
Anna Loskatova, Cheska Vare, Sarah Den
Dan
Blaker.
Blaker.
Evan Ball. Zachary Torres. Spencer Hellier. Gathering Party Before Venturing Forth. Nicholas Bates.
They give us a little extra money to help us keep the lights on here at Musical Cheese. That's the only part I remember, so Jess, take it away.
Brilliant. If you'd like to join them in supporting us and get tons of fun perks, come join us over at Patreon. And also, bravo to you, Brie. Me and Andrew both had to use the restroom at the same moment, so she stepped up. And I'm sure she nailed it.
I don't think I did. I'm a couple drinks in and I take SSRIs. So by a couple, I mean a lot of drinks.
On that note, let's have more drinks and talk about some songs.
Musicals with cheese.
I really like the Hold Me Tight cutting back and forth number, which is kind of our opening number.
It feels so right now. Hold me tight. Tell me I'm the only one, and then I might never be the lonely one. So hold me tight tonight. It's you.
Where we start like in the dark, dingy like clubs of Liverpool, and then we cut to like the school dance section of America. And I really think that's an effective opening number that ties both of our main characters together, shows their different lives, but also shows that they're gonna come together eventually. It's very effective storytelling.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Did we ever find out what happened to didn't Jude have a girlfriend?
Yeah, we see her at the end. He's like, "Oh, you're with Phil Scully." She's like, "When did that happen?" She's like, "Weeks after you stopped writing."
Yeah, that makes sense.
What was her name? What do you mean? The reason why you stopped writing? Oh, Lucy. I know this movie very well.
How many times have you watched it?
I've watched it so many times that I don't even think it's worth bringing up.
I could appreciate that.
I don't think I could count it.
It's a feel-good movie. I don't know.
It's a movie that you can turn on, and it's just vibes and visuals and songs.
Yep.
What do you think of this song, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, I like the juxtaposition between the two. I think it's fine. It
Let's
works
just
well.
pause really quick.
Sure.
I know that you say I tend to grade on a curve. As far as jukebox musicals go, this is effective in the storytelling in a way that none other, at least on film, have ever been.
You know, I might be able
song.
to actually agree with that, but I think that still is grading on a curve because I think that all jukebox musicals are just kind of bad.
But this one I think is the best, because even better than Mamma Mia, even though we laugh and giggle and have a good time watching Mamma Mia. I think as a narrative tool, these songs tell a story in the way that most jukebox musicals don't.
They're also not unwilling to change the style of the song a little bit, which is nice. They don't just literally perform like Mamma Mia. It's literally they have different singers, but they're just doing the ABBA song. Like they don't do anything else.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of that, let's talk about I Want to Hold Your Hand, which is a very different rendition than the Beatles version.
Oh, please say to me you'll let me be your man, and please say to me you'll let me hold your hand. Now let me hold your hand.
A much better rendition than the Beatles version, if we're going to be real. I Want to Hold Your Hand is probably the worst Beatles song ever.
Oh, hey, I tell you something. Like the clapping in
It's
between
literally
is cringe as
like
fuck.
like people will like talk about like boy bands in the 90s and like how they sucked, and it's like the Beatles, like this song is literally the worst boy band song ever written.
It's a product of its time.
I remember when me and Andrew were little baby boys hanging out. One of the first conversations we had, he's like, "What do you like?" I'm like, "I think I like the Beatles because I like Across the Universe." And you said the Beatles suck. They're just the Jonas Brothers of the '60s. And we gotta stop pretending that they aren't.
Was I wrong?
I think so.
I still hold the exact same opinion. Although I changed a little bit. They were the Jonas Brothers of the 50s, and then the 60s happened and they turned into some psychedelic bullshit.
I think the way the Beatles made music, and they kind of paved the way for a lot of artists moving forward. I would say that. Like, they did a lot of really cool things in, like, the studio, recording their music.
There was a lot of stuff that was gonna happen regardless of them, though.
But they did it.
Sure, they did, but I don't even know if they were, like, the first of the first. I think a lot of the stuff they were doing was being done probably by smaller artists that just didn't get any attention because the Beatles were literally bigger than Jesus.
Which says something, right?
I like this song, I Want to Hold Your Hand, in the movie. It, once again, narratively, it is an entire story in and of itself. This entire song tells a story. You introduce a character beautifully through it. You introduce what her struggle is, and you introduce what she's running away from, so that when we see her running away, we know everything about her without her saying a spoken word of scripted dialogue, just through a Beatles song.
Isn't it a little bit weird that they set up Prudence before they, like, actually properly set up Lucy, though?
No.
What do you mean, no? Prudence drops out of the movie at, like, the halfway point and doesn't come back till the end.
What? I mean, we set up Lucy. We set her up in Hold Me Tight, and that she and her boyfriend, she's like, when will I see you again? He gets a furlough after boot camp. And then after that, like, we see her a good majority.
Yeah, but, like, after Hold Me Tight, Jude gets his own number. Lucy doesn't get her own number until, like, 3 songs later.
Yeah, but it's a good number, and it won't be long, which is another wonderful music video, but I don't really want to talk about that.
We can't talk about every song, because there's like 20 of them.
I know. I do want to talk about Let It Be, which is
probably
one of the best music videos ever made.
Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And when the broken-hearted people living in this world agree, there will be an answer, let it be.
It's a great music video, but damn, do they not want to talk about what happens in it in the rest of the movie, huh?
No, but the fact that in a marketed feel-good Beatles movie, they had the gall to show you about, like, the police violence and the shit that went down in the Detroit riots and sneak it into one of the most famous Beatles songs ever written and make you come to terms with that's what's going on. I appreciate that.
It does feel like they don't talk about racism, like, at all, but they're very willing to talk about other subjects that would be controversial, like the Vietnam War and stuff like that.
You've got the two sides here, where you lose if you do, you lose if you don't. And, like, this is, as a not black woman stepping into that story and trying to show it off, might feel disingenuous in telling stories that you have no right to tell. Or, on the other hand, you're whitewashing a history that involves a lot of that thing. So she kind of tries to have the cake and eat it too, where she will show the Detroit riot, she will show the assassination of JFK, she will have a lead character be a black man and mourn JFK with a song. And one of the most beautiful scenes in the movie with the While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Yeah. But it has no direct impact on the narrative of our two leads, Lucy, Jude, and Max.
Yeah. It's not just that, though. The Vietnam War, there's a racial component to that I feel like they neglect to, like, there's like one passing line about it, and it's like a joke, but that's it. Like, you don't think there was any, like, anti-Asian racism going on in the 1960s? Like,
they were in camps, you know?
Yeah, like, we're not going to talk about that, like, at all? I don't know. It's a very, like, white-centric way of looking at all of these issues in the 60s.
Not just white, entitled rich white perspective on a lot of this.
Yeah.
Now, while I can enjoy these numbers and say I like watching this movie, the politics of this movie are kind of shitty.
It's like the conservative way of looking back at the 60s and being like, well, now we all understand that all of these things were bad. But, like, if you were actually...
No. I think it's more the neoliberal way of, like, hey, aren't we better now? We all get along.
I guess, but neoliberals are essentially conservatives. Like, I mean,
yeah, you're right.
just because conservatives have all turned into fascists doesn't mean neoliberals are now suddenly not conservative.
Let It Be is a great song, and they do it well. It tells a good story, and breaks your fucking heart in it.
Yeah, Let It Be is good. The scene is fantastic. Just
Yes.
I guess the problem with this whole thing, and what I was trying to say at the first half of the episode, is every single one of these songs, when we talk about it, is going to be like, yeah, they did that pretty good. It's just as a cohesive movie, I'm not sure it works.
I only want to talk about like 4 more songs, then we can wrap this up.
Sure.
I Want You, I think, is like the most effective idea, and maybe the only reason why they bring the Vietnam stuff into it, because this idea was so brilliant as a metaphor.
I want you. I want you so bad. I want you. I want you so bad. It's driving me mad. It's driving me mad.
The video is great.
Yes.
I really like the masks that they have them wear, like the hyper masculine chin masks. That's really good.
That's like where we go full Julie Taymor visual whatever puppetry. She loves puppetry.
It is a very cool way to show the same exact message that every Vietnam movie since the 70s has been telling us. The Vietnam War was really bad, especially for white men.
We were picked up and forced to do something we didn't want to do? What?
Those Vietnamese people didn't have to do that.
I mean, how does the politics of this compare to the politics of something like Miss Saigon?
It's kind of the same, isn't it? It's very similar. This is probably a little better. This doesn't have the weird stuff that Miss Saigon did.
We didn't really go into that when we did that episode. Maybe they'll make a movie when you talk about it again.
They probably won't. I think Miss Saigon is Saigon.
I love this scene specifically because it takes lyrics that can really make no sense, because the lyrics are, I want you so bad, she's so heavy. That's the entirety of the song. And the lyrics could mean like, I want you as my girlfriend, because the Beatles were all relatively heterosexual men. And she's so heavy, meaning she's an intense woman. Here it's Uncle Sam wanting you to join the military, and liberty being so heavy to carry on your back, shown literally with these men in their underwear carrying the Statue of Liberty on their backs. And I think it's great. Shit like that I love.
No, I mean, it's a great video. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. But then speaking of great videos, you love Strawberry Fields Forever.
Let me take you down, 'cause I'm going to strawberry fields. Nothing is real, nothing to get hung about. Strawberry fields forever.
Strawberry Fields Forever. Yeah, I mean, the visuals of the splattering fruit, and the grenades being turned into that. I don't know if this song is actually about war. I kind of feel like it might be, but I honestly have no idea. But it's good.
Please describe what excellent. It looks like in the movie.
In the movie?
Yeah.
It's very, I mean, I guess it is kind of psychedelic. It's like, there's a lot of shots of just smashed fruit. I don't know how to describe it. Like
Jude trying to come up with a logo with smashed strawberries, intercut with Max in Vietnam.
That is what's
watching
happening.
People die.
Yeah, and I don't know, the one part that really sticks with me is when they literally pull the pin on a grenade and you see a grenade, and then he just squeezes his hand and it turns into a mashed strawberry, which is kind of neat.
And it kind of gets away with the idea of blood and all that.
I don't know. I think it just works really well. I feel like I am not good enough with words to describe it, so go watch it on YouTube or something.
Bree did say that John Lennon based the song on his childhood memories of playing in the garden in Strawberry Field, a Salvation Army children's home in Liverpool. Once again,
so nothing to do with war.
Once again, Julie Taymor taking something that has a very generic, kind of boring meaning and transforming it into something with an actual pointed, direct storytelling prop.
Yeah.
Yes.
What else is good to talk about?
I want to talk about Happiness is a Worn Gun, just because I love this scene and I love how surreal it is.
Happiness is a warm gun.
Yeah, I've always had like questions about what the fuck this song is supposed to mean. Like, what does happiness is a warm gun mean?
I don't know. I remember there being an old Charlie Brown special called Happiness is a Warm Puppy, which I think it might be aping off of. It might be a chicken and the egg kind of thing. But maybe find joy in violence, maybe some kind of meaning like that.
I think that's what they're trying to say in the movie.
Okay, apparently it's a double entendre for guns and Lennon's sexual desire for Yoko Ono.
That's what I was kind of getting from it. Like, happiness is my
dick.
being warm.
Happiness is my warm dick, bang, bang, shoot, shoot.
The Beatles are the classiest band of all time. They're so good. No one can ever compete.
Yeah.
Oh, that title comes from an NRA magazine. Ooh.
Okay, that's not fun. I guess that makes more sense knowing that context and knowing how Julie Taymor does her research. She turns it into Max dealing with his PTSD. There's a priest that gets like possessed halfway through and dances wildly, and Selma Hayek playing like 6 nurses.
Yeah, it's a weird trip, but you kind of get what they're trying to say.
I really like the scene. I like how it's staged. Specifically, I don't think I bring this up enough. Every scene is shot particularly well. It takes a lot of work, and I just imagine all the setups they had to do to get this accomplished. I remember a special feature on the Blu-ray was just showing the Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite scene and showing every take they did of that and how they had to do it a bunch. And a lot of these songs are sung live in a way that isn't showy, where it's like, hey, if it makes sense for you to sing it live and just kind of be in the moment, do that. If it doesn't, whatever, we'll dub it. And I think that's how you should do this.
No, you should definitely have to do like 800 takes to do it live. And don't drink any water for a couple months.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman.
That's like the last like good music video.
One.
After that, they all kind of get grounded, it feels like.
There is one last one I want to talk about, and that's Hey Jude, because that is like the one where it kind of bleeds over into proper musical theater, where it just becomes a scene between two people using by way of a Beatles song.
Hey Jude, don't be afraid. You were made to go out and get her. The minute you let her under your skin, then you begin to make it better.
And it uses that magical realism. Like, this is the scene where it really summed up to me that this probably should have been a stage show rather than a movie, where Max and Jude just talk to each other via bar magic.
Yeah, like somehow Max is just like there in England, but he definitely isn't, because that's not really feasible, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, this movie doesn't really exist in the real world. We have Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite, played by Mrs. Eddie Izzard.
Yes, that is true. It's interesting. I don't find this song to be particularly engaging, but it is very plot driven.
But also, it is plot driven. We end at a very specific point at the beginning, and we end at a very different point at the end. It is narratively driven. They
saved the Hey Jude part, which is the name of the character, for the ending, which I was wondering when they were going to do that.
Yeah, it's a matter of if or when, not if.
Yeah.
I like the song. I think it's really effective. On that note, what is our overall thoughts and our cheese rating? Andrew, why don't you start?
Sure. Honestly, I mean, I went hard just because I knew Jess really likes this one, so I wanted to annoy him.
I like being angry, making Jess angry. It brings him joy.
It literally, not him, it brings me joy. But literally, it's fine. Like, I don't love the Beatles, but they do good renditions of all these songs, and especially the ones where they go kind of out there with the music videos. That is really where this shines, I think. I guess I don't love this type of musical though, where it's just kind of like the songs are maybe tied into the story, maybe not. Like, it doesn't work for me super well. That being said, though, I think it's fine. And if you like the Beatles a lot, you should watch it. As for a cheese rating, I'm gonna give it a, let's see here, We got a chevreau cheese, which apparently pairs very well with strawberry. So,
Hey.
strawberry fields forever.
All right, Bree, what about you?
I appreciated your guys' conversation. I think 14-year-old Brianna, who was watching this, wasn't necessarily thinking about how it represented what the world was like in the 1960s. I think I was just listening to Beatles songs, and there was a lot of Beatles in my house growing up. So the movie itself does have, like, you know, a lot of good memories, but I'm not a huge Beatles fan anymore. But I think if you want to listen to some, you know, good renditions of songs, and
Jim Sturgis is also hot.
and yeah, look at Jim Sturgis because he's so cute, then you should watch this. And I'm gonna give it a cheese biscuit, you know, biscuits and tea.
Hell yeah. I really like Across the Universe. One of the wildest things happened to me while I was doing research for this episode. I found like a video essay where it's like going into the history and diving into like what the fuck me what the show means and all that, and then it's like, if you want to hear video about like two people with different opinions, watch Musicals with Cheese and Musical Hell's video about it. I'm just like, fuck, what? Sometimes shit like that will just creep up on me. Like when Sideways originally did his video on Sweeney Todd, he's like, watch this video for Musicals with Cheese about Sweeney Todd. I'm like, what? So I really, really liked Across the Universe. I will watch it many times. It is a flawed masterpiece. And I am giving it strawberry cream cheese because strawberry fields, and I think it goes great all the time, but it's not for everyone, and that's all right. It's for me.
Love it.
Yeah.
Wonderful cheese rating.
And you know what else is for me?
Our wonderful patron.
That's right! Thank you guys for listening. Please follow us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher Musical Cheese, Instagram Musicals Cheese, Twitter Cheesy Musicals, Patreon Musicals Cheese, YouTube page Musicals of Cheese, Patreon-only podcast, Patreon with Cheese. Email us at musicaltheaterlives to tell us why we're wrong about everything. Our keeper of the cheese is Juliet Antonio. Here's some ASMR for you, Juliet. Is that ASMR? Did I do it? This show is produced by Brianna Jones, one of the most incredible people I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. Our theme songs were created by Robin Nash of IOU Music UK. Thank you to the Broadway Podcast Network for having us on the platform and for not kicking us off for talking about our Lord and Savior Julie Taymor in a negative light. All right, guys, is there anything else we have to say?
I think we've covered it.
Alrighty. We'll see you next time on Musicals with Cheese.
Musicals with cheese.
Na 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 na. Hey Jude. Na 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 na. Hey Judy J.